What's happening, Internet fam? Well, it's another installment of why Rye isn't getting to see his kids. And this time is one of the most ridiculous. I can't even. I mean, it's been ridiculous from the beginning. I have no criminal record whatsoever. I have no history of drug or alcohol abuse. I have no history of any kind of violence, any kind of threats, any kind of malfeasance of any kind. Although I do have a parking ticket now. So, I am wanted by the law for my parking ticket. So I've been calling the visitation place saying, hey, I need to get my next visit with the kids. And they're not calling me back. They're not calling me back. And I'm like trying to figure out why it is the visitation place isn't calling me back. And finally they call me back and say, okay, well, we've got your visitation set. It is for the 28th. Now, they told me this on like March 28th. And they're talking about April 28th. And I was supposed to have a visitation like April 3rd, April 4th, somewhere early in the month. Or no, I couldn't have been, I don't know, April 6th, 7th, whatever. I was trying to get it set up for early in the month. And they're pushing it back to April 28th. And I said, well, why? Why is it April 28th? And they said, well, we can't tell you over the phone, but if you come in, we can give you paperwork documenting why it is that you can't see your kids till the end of the month. Now, keep in mind, I didn't see them for all of March. And again, this isn't about me seeing the kids. It's about the kids being able to see their dad. That's what this is really about, because the psychological toll that it takes on a kid who's not allowed to see their own parents is huge. It's super detrimental. So anybody who's doing that to your kids, do the research, look at it yourself. It is horrible what you are doing to your children if you're not allowing them to see their mother or father. It's just one of the worst things you can do to a kid. It's probably, by most measures, worse than actual physical abuse. So anyway, I come into the visitation place and I get the paperwork, and there's a big stack of it. I've got it right here. Here's the big stack of paperwork that I got from the visitation place. And basically, Grace had a broken arm. Now, from what I could understand, from what Everett told me, it seemed like nobody was supervising her when she broke her arm. So she was somewhere, she broke her arm, and then Everett said he had to run home and tell his parents that she had a broken arm. So there was no adult on site supervising her when she broke her arm, which, of course, I wasn't there because I'm not allowed to be there. So I couldn't have been there to prevent Grace from breaking her arm. I wasn't there to immediately rush her to the hospital. In fact, I didn't even know she had a broken arm till a few days later when I saw she was in a cast. The level of torture that it is to not be able to help your kids when they're hurt, or to be there for your kids when they're hurt, or to rescue your kids when they're hurt, or to prevent your kids from being hurt is really intense, really, really intense. And so anyway, yeah, and she's unsupervised, apparently. This is the story that I've gotten from the kids about the incident. And so she's been in a cast. And she just got the cast off. So in the paperwork that I got from the supervised visitation place, apparently the reason I can't see the kids until later this month is because I'm a danger to my own children in a new way this time, in that I might, if I see Grace right after she gets her cast off, I might hug her too hard and re-break her arm. That's the allegation, the fantasy allegation that's being made about why I shouldn't be allowed to see my kids for yet another month. So my visitation with my kids is being pushed back an entire month on the chance that I might accidentally re-break my daughter's arm because it's out of a cast. I mean, basically in this scenario, I'm like Lennie from Of Mice and Men. I'm like some kind of giant special needs savant who has no control over his physical self and might actually injure his 5-year-old daughter without trying to. And of course, the irony of this is that Grace has a broken arm. Her arm was broken. And I wasn't there to help her. I wasn't there to save her. I couldn't have done anything about it because I have no parental rights whatsoever. And I'm just documenting this. People say, why do you post that stuff online? I'm documenting it. You know, if I get hit by a bus tomorrow, if, if something happens to me, I want the kids to know that their dad loved them very much and their dad wanted to be there every step of the way. Wanted to be with them every day, taking care of them, making sure they didn't get a broken arm, making sure they were eating all organic fruits and vegetables, making sure they weren't eating foods loaded with glyphosate, such as goldfish. Those goldfish snacks are just loaded with glyphosate. They have the most glyphosate of any commercial product on the market. So if you're feeding your kids goldfish, you should stop. I wanted to be there to make sure they weren't shot up with vaccines full of mercury, aluminum, fluoride, formaldehyde, the simian 60 virus, which is known to cause a higher incidence of cancer when people have got it. I mean, I wanted to raise my kids eating all organic food on a farm, building things with their own two hands, being homeschooled and reading the classics such as Moby Dick and Jules Verne and Kon-Tiki. And instead, they're on a Navy base with Navy guy number 4. And which I've heard through the grapevine, he was actually a downgrade from Navy guys 1, 2, and 3, both in salary and in every other way, apparently. They have no right to see their dad. They have no access to their dad. They can't email their dad. They can't call their dad. And they're being unsupervised, getting broken limbs now while being unsupervised, which is much more likely to happen on a Navy base statistically. If you read about the statistics about what happens to kids on military bases, it's really, really bad. It's like the worst possible environment to raise kids in. I mean, other than like, South Central LA or something. Certainly a downgrade from a farm that they own with their own private waterfall on it. Yeah, so I'm just documenting this. People are saying, don't post that stuff online. I got to post it online. There's nobody else for me to tell my kids in the event that something happens to me. There's no other way for my kids to know that I wanted to be there for them and that I would not have put them in this situation ever. Again, when I had custody of the kids, I made sure that they had a lengthy video chat in a comfortable environment every night with their mom, because that's the most that I could do because she was in another state. And now I can't call them, email them, see them, and my visitation has been postponed an entire month on the chance that I might hug my daughter too hard and re-break her arm. So, which is the most absurd allegation that's ever been leveled against me in my entire life. And I've had some absurd allegations leveled against me in the past, but that has got to be the farthest from reality, the farthest from who I am, what I'm like, what kind of dad I am. I mean, it's just so absolutely in fantasy land. I mean, Game of Thrones is more realistic than that scenario. Yeah, it's just absurd. And I'm just documenting it because I don't know what else to do. All right, Internet fam, have a great night. I love you, Everett and Grace. I'm sorry all this is happening to you.